Casey Affleck and Matt Damon in a buddy heist movie? Yes, please. Let's talk about The Instigators. Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watch or Pass, and you might want to know what this money symbol is about. Well, I'm going to talk about this new heist film, The Instigators. It's coming to theaters on August 2nd, 2024, and Apple TV Plus on August 9th, 2024. It is a new buddy heist thriller with Matt Damon and Casey Affleck. Now, is this combination worth your time? Is this worth seeing? Yeah, my hot take is I definitely think you should watch it. Look, I like this movie a lot. It's not great, it's not amazing, but it is very enjoyable. I definitely think you should check it out. If you've got the time, if you want to see it in theaters, check it out in theaters. It's coming to Apple TV Plus a week later, so either way, see it quickly. It is a fun, entertaining movie. It has a kind of a slower pace, but it has a great cast, a really strong start, and plenty of twists and turns in this tale. I really loved kind of the chemistry and interaction between Matt Damon and Casey Affleck. And the film is just kind of like a fun, enjoyable movie. So, all that being said, I'm going to tell you a little about the film, a few things I like, a few things I didn't like, then really quickly go into the ending. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers in the ending section. If you don't know what happens in this movie, and you might not, there are some surprises along the way, especially some big twists along the end. I would turn it off when I get to the ending. Before that, though, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler-free, unless you want to get to those spoilers. So, Instigators has two main characters. You've got Rory, played by Matt Damon, who's kind of like an awkward former Marine who seems to have some sort of money issues, but otherwise he's very good. And then you have Cobby, who is this like smart mouth ex-con. He always seems to be like getting in trouble. He always seems to be running his mouth. These two unite for what should be a low effort, high reward heist. Of course, it just goes that way and everything is fine. Not really. Something goes wrong and they have to then improvise and think on their feet. Are they able to? Well, you have to watch the movie to find out. So things I liked about this movie. The first, look, I love the cast. I really liked Matt Damon and Casey Affleck. I liked both of them individually. I liked both of them together. Their characters were very different and it was fun to see their interactions. There's kind of like an interesting chemistry between them and definitely kind of a fun push and pull between these two very different characters throughout the film. The rest of the cast is great. Like it's a good cast overall, but Matt Damon and Casey Affleck are fantastic in the main roles. The second thing I love the start. It has a really strong start. Like I said, it's a heist movie. It starts with kind of the buildup and then that heist. And then after that, it just keeps going. So it has a really kind of strong way to pull you in right from the start and get you invested. The third thing I like the humor. It's funny. It's not like crazy funny. It's not like a laugh out loud kind of movie, but there are definitely really funny moments. There's definitely some really fun interchanges between Rory and Cobby and also between some of the other characters that come into their lives. It's just a clever, funny film that has some humorous moments here and there. And the last thing I love, there's a lot of twists. Like this heist, as you can imagine, goes to various places and that means the story keeps moving. You kind of wonder where they're going to go next. Sometimes you like wonder how they're going to get out of this situation. Well, you have to watch the movie to see, but there are lots of different scenarios that happen in this heist movie. So, all that being said, things I didn't love as much about this movie, the first, there's some really bad CG. It's not a lot. There's not a ton of CG in this movie, but there's some bad CG, there's some bad explosions, and there's a bad scene towards the end where a big thing happens that is very clearly CG and it just looks really bad. It's okay. It's not that big of a deal. There aren't a ton of them, but they do look very bad. And the second thing I didn't love as much, it's got kind of a slow pace. It's not bad. Like it's not like boring, but it's a thriller. It starts off with a bang, and then after that, it kind of slows down. I mean, that allows for some personal growth. That allows for a lot of interchange between the characters. So it's not a terrible thing, but I was expecting maybe a little bit more excitement after the big opening. Also, all that being said, The Instigators comes to theaters on August 2nd, 2024, and Apple TV Plus on August 9th, 2024. Definitely check it out in one of those. If you can see it in theaters, you'll probably enjoy it. If you can see it at home, all the better. But definitely go check it out. And I'm going to go quickly into a recap in the ending. So if you don't know what happens in this movie, I would turn it off now because there will be spoilers. So in The Instigators, you've got two main characters. You've got Rory, who is in therapy for something. You don't really know what it is. We find out he's a former Marine. He's in therapy trying to get over a rut in his life. And his therapist, Dr. Rivera, is played by Chau. And it seems like he has been in a rut for a bit. And he kind of at the start mentions that he might be he might have some suicidal thoughts. He's been kind of in a rut for a year, and he said, like, after a year, I might punch my ticket. So it seems like he's not really in a great place. Now, on the other hand, you've got Cobby, who is played by Casey Affleck. He's like a smart mouth, like just mess up. He just got out of prison. He can't stop running his mouth, and he looks like he's gonna get pulled in for another job. Now, both of these individuals get pulled in for this job on the mayor. The mayor is up for re-election every year. The system seems to be corrupt. He seems to win every year. And every year when he wins, he throws a big party at his, headquarters. Everyone comes and they bring cash prizes, essentially, like bribes for him. There's a cash bar. There's a ton of cash at this big event. And so the plan is to rob the mayor's event, sneak in, get the cash, sneak out. They can't really report it because it's all like, unregistered cash, things like that. So it should just be a really simple, quick job, right? Well, it doesn't quite go that way. The boss who's playing this is, I think his name is Mr. Best Guy. I don't really remember, but I'll just call him the boss. And then his, second in command, the other person who's helping him out is this person named Richie. Now they bring in Cobby and Rory, and then this other person named Scalvo. They are the ones that are going to execute this job. So they get ready, they do it, they go there on election night, and it doesn't seem right. They're supposed to get in there, and there's not supposed to be a few people. Well, they get there, and there's a ton of people in the kitchen, so they have to take them all hostage, and it just kind of keeps going from there. The plans aren't exactly right, things aren't working out, and we find out that so the mayor didn't actually win this election. The other person won, and so everyone was there because the mayor hadn't conceded. So the idea was after the party, everyone would have gone home. There would have just been a skeleton crew. They were going to get this money before it, went to wherever it was going to go, a bank or some sort of offshore account. But the event was still going because people were still there. So there were a ton of people in the kitchen. There were a ton of people still in the building. It was a lot more occupied. So that didn't really work out well for them. And then they get to the safe. They open it up and there's nothing in there because the party had been going so long, they had to call in the armored trucks to come get the money a couple times. So they've already emptied it twice, and now all that's left is like nothing. So not really going great. They start thinking, they try to get out of there, but all their plans are off, all their plans are wrong, and they end up wandering into like the mayor's base of operations. There's a ton of people there, a ton of very high-ranking people who are talking to the mayor. The mayor doesn't want to concede. For some reason, there seems to be something in this building that he needs to get done, and so he doesn't want to concede yet. And they're all waiting there. Now, when Scalvo, Rory, and Cobby walk in there, Scalvo decides to rob all of them. And Cobby's like, what are you doing? Like, we don't have time for this. Like, this is not a good idea. But Scalvo doesn't want to like leave empty-handed. So he starts robbing all these very high-ranking, influential people. And eventually he takes something from the mayor, this gold bracelet that the mayor says has a lot of sentimental value. He doesn't care. He takes it anyways. And eventually the police chief tells him, like, just drop your gun and walk away. This is, you don't want this. But Scalvo is angry. He wants to, get out of here. And so eventually he and the police chief draw and they shoot each other. And Cobby also gets shot. So after this whole endeavor, Cobby and Rory get out of there. They jump in the armored car that had just pulled up because all their timing was messed up. The armored car had pulled up. They jump in the armored car and drive away and try to escape. And they eventually ditch the armored car and go lie low. Now, unfortunately for them, they took something that the mayor really wanted, that gold bracelet. Seems to have a lot more value. And he calls in some of his own specialists. This person named Frank Toomey, who is the head of this like special operations unit, although it seems like he's just a one-man wrecking shop. He drives like essentially a tank. He has a lot of influence in here. So the mayor tells him to find this bracelet, and Frank understands the assignment. So he's looking for it. Now, Richie and the boss are also worried because the job didn't go well. They think that Rory and Cobby are going to talk. And so they bring in someone to take out Rory and Cobby, this person named Booch. So Rory and Cobby go to lie low in this beach house that Cobby's boss owned. And so while they're there, Rory calls Richie to say like, hey, I need my cut. He was promised a very specific cut. They were going to get 10%, but he said he needed specifically $32,480. And so he calls the boss and says, hey, I need my cut. And also, we have an incident. Someone was shot. We need a doctor. And the boss is like, all right, I'll send a doctor. So he sends Booch. Rory thinks that a doctor's coming. Cobby is a little bit smarter. He first told him not to tell him where they are. And then when he tells him, there's not really much he can do because he's shot and not feeling great. So they're lying low. Booch ends up coming, and Booch comes in with a gun, tells them to get on their knees and also to give him the bracelet. Now, Cobby does this, but then Cobby's like, you're not going to shoot us. Can't you smell this? And Booch is like, what? And we realize that when Cobby realized that Booch was there, he cut a gas line. And so gas has been leaking out into the house. And he's like, you're not going to shoot us. So he takes the gun, he takes the bracelet back. Rory and Cobby flee in Booch's car, and Booch, as he's leaving the house blows up. The gas, I guess, had been leaking. The gas had leaked enough and must have hit a spark, and the house blows up. So Booch goes fine. He's okay. And that explosion doesn't look that great. It looks CG, but Rory and Cobby are now fleeing. They drive to Rory's psychiatrist house, the person who's been treating him. She's also an MD, and she did some med school. So she's the first person that Rory thinks might be able to help Cobby. Cobby's still a shot. He still has a bullet in him, so Rory's got to help him out. They get there. She's able to operate on him, but she doesn't want to. She realizes that this would be a problem. And so Rory then says, like, well, what if I took you hostage and I forced you to? Like, he's not going to actually take her hostage, but he's like, what if I took you hostage and made you do it? And so she agrees. He takes her hostage. She fixes up Cobby. But then after the operation, Rory's like, I just got to get one more thing done and then I'm going to turn myself in. But he finds out that she has called the cops. So now Rory and Cobby have to flee. They take her car and they're about to go, but she jumps in too. She's like, I'm not going to let you die. And so now we have all three of them in this car. They start to back up, and that is when the police kind of hound them. They like get all on them. It is a crazy, crazy police chase. They try to destroy this car. This car gets wrecked, but they're able to keep going. It seems like there are cops from all over here for some reason. There's like Vermont police, there's Rhode Island police, there's New York police, there's all sorts of police here, all trying to take them down. And there's all sorts of little like jostling for position here and like arguments over the various police as they're trying to take this car down. Rory apparently is a really fantastic driver. I don't know where he learned to drive, but he's able to stay ahead of them. And eventually, in a tunnel, one of the trucks, I think jackknifes the turret, it like basically goes sideways and blocks a tunnel right behind Rory, Cobby, and Dr. Ayres. So they're able to escape. That truck blocks the police. The police can't follow them, and they are able to get out of there. Now, they go to somewhere that Cobby knows, the bar where he kind of like works. It's not really his bar. It's a bar owned by his friend, someone who like has kind of taken care of him, tried to put him on the right path. He has not done that. He's disappointed this person, but he still kind of like trusts him. So he goes to that bar and hides out. So they hide out in here, and eventually Mr. Kelly, the owner of the bar, comes by, but also Frank does too. Mr. Kelly seems to know Frank. They seem, I don't know if they like went back or they are at least in the same circles, but he gives up Cobby and Rory to Frank. Now Frank gets the bracelet because that's what he was sent to get, and he gets the hostage, he gets Dr. Rivera, and he leaves. And he tells them to put their hands on the bar, and the police will be in there in a little bit. And so Rory puts his hands on the bar, and Cobby's like, what are you doing? Like, why would you put your hands on the bar? And he's like, well, that's what he told us. And Cobby's like, don't you smell that? And that's when outside you see Frank and Dr. Rivera leave, and then the bar just blows up. So Cobby did the same thing. He did the same trick. He cut the gas line. They are able to leave, and it looks like, and people might think that maybe they blew up. Cobby and Rory are escaping on a bus, and Rory is only thinking about money. He needs this money, and we find out earlier why. He needs this money, exactly $32,480 to see his son. It's what he owes for like lawyer's fees and back child support and things like that, things that he hasn't been able to pay off to see his son. And so he really wants to see his son, so he's got to get that money there. Now, that was the whole reason for this whole heist. Probably not the best idea. It seems like it's going to kind of mess up his life, but he still is focused on that. And so Rory's like, well, maybe we can rob a bank. Maybe we can do that. And Cobby's like, that's a stupid idea. And then he starts reciting some numbers. He starts reciting the numbers that were on the back of that bracelet. And he's like, those are numbers to a safe. That must be why the mayor's not leaving. The mayor's not leaving his office because there's a safe in there and he needs whatever's in that safe. So we should go there too. So and Rory's like, we're gonna rob the mayor again. We already robbed him once. Like, why would we do it again? And he's like, and Cobby's like, no one would think that we would be dumb enough to do it twice. They're probably right. So they decide to go into the mayor's office. They get dressed in like fireman outfits, like firefighter outfits. They think that that'll let them in. It works. And they also use Cobby's like love of gas to set the building on fire. He like pours gas down a pipe that leads into the building. I don't know if this actually works. It probably wouldn't actually work, but it's a fun movie effect. He pours gas down some pipe that leads into the building, lights a match that causes the building to have a little fire, causes all the alarms to go off, causes the water to pour down. Now, before this, the mayor had gotten the bracelet from Frank, and he had opened the safe and was starting to pull things out. But when this fire alarm happened, he couldn't keep doing this. He had to close the safe off. He had to be evacuated. And so now the safe is there with just his lawyer, Alan, just the mayor's lawyer, Alan, who seems kind of like a pushover. He seems like he is doing whatever the mayor wants. So he is left for the safe. Now, Rory and Cobby get into the building, and they look off. They are going to take the elevator during a fire, which you're not supposed to do. And so one of the fire chiefs like notices them, and they try to run away. The fire chief follows them all the way to the mayor's office, and they lock themselves in the mayor's office. They think, okay, he's going to go away. Nope, that fire chief is very zealous. He takes an axe and starts trying to get into the office. Eventually, Rory, trying to think on his feet, says, "We have a hostage. We have a hostage," because Alan is in there. They noticed Alan. That causes the fire chief to stop, but that causes a whole host of other problems because now they have a hostage. Now it becomes like a police standoff. And Cobby's upset because what they were going to do was just like burgle, which was a smaller, jail time. But now they have a kidnapping, which is a much larger jail time. So they're trying to think of what to do. And Cobby ends up opening the safe. And inside the safe is a bunch of money. And what Alan points out, two hard drives that contain all sorts of like untraceable transactions, things from the mayor's past. And Alan thinks that maybe like Rory and Cobby are like, I don't know if he thinks that they're police or he just wants to like get on the record that he was cooperating, but he gives this to them and says, "Look, I'm cooperating. Here you go." Now they have a conundrum though, because they have all this money, but how are they going to possibly get out of here? Well, Dr. Rivera has followed the events and she ends up coming to the mayor's office to talk to them. She introduces herself to the police. They make her the negotiator and they put her in a vest and decide to send her in. Now she comes in, she talks to them a little bit. So eventually she talks to Rory, and Rory says that he doesn't want to die. Before he seemed like he was suicidal, but now I don't know if this like maybe made him like life or maybe this was the change he needed. I'm not sure exactly, but at this point he doesn't want to die. And so they come up with a plan. Now, what their plan is they give some money to Dr. Rivera to put in her bulletproof vest so that she can pay his fees, the $32,480 that he owes. She's going to take it with her and pay, his son, which great friend. Seems to be breaking some laws, but you know what? It's fine. He's going to get to see his son. Hopefully it's fine. I'm sure they're not going to like check her bulletproof vest when I guess they'll let her leave with a bulletproof vest. Whatever. It's fine. So Dr. Rivera and Alan leave. They leave through the front and they are now out of harm's way. Now, what are these two instigators going to do? Well, they push this safe out of the office. I don't think they could. It seems like a very big safe. It seems like it'd be very impossible to move. Maybe it's on rollers. We'll say it's on rollers. So they push this safe out the window. It falls down in this really not great looking CG moment, but it falls down, boom. Money is raining everywhere because it was full of money. It fell down. All this money is raining down. Eventually, the crowd who was gathered see the money and start running towards it. And it is pandemonium. They all run in. They all try to get it. There's people everywhere. The cops are trying to stop them. And in this chaos, a fire truck rolls out. And this fire truck looks a little suspicious, but the cops let it through. It's like hoses are trailing. And wouldn't you know, it is driven by Rory and Cobby. They drive right out, and you're like, all right, this is a fun end of the heist movie. This is a great way to end. It's not the end just yet. As they're driving, boom, they get hit. Frank is there. Frank Toomey's there, and he recognized what's happening. He's trying to stop them. He hits them, eventually is able to stop them, and he gets out. Now, as he's getting out, the cops are following them because it looked weird to have a fire truck with, dangling hoses and whatnot. So the cops were pursuing them. Cobby tries to make a deal with Frank. Cobby says, look, this hard drive has 20 years of like untraceable funds, of crooked transactions, things like that. I give this to you. You let us walk away and you never have to work another day in your life. Well, Frank doesn't really seem to want to do that. I don't know. Frank seems like a solid cop. He's a little corrupt, but seems like he wants to get the job done. So doesn't seem like he lets that happen. As Cobby's making this deal, the cops are approaching. The next thing you see them waiting in jail. You see Cobby and Rory waiting in jail. So it seems like Frank didn't take the deal. It seems like they got caught. But now we see the new mayor, Mayor Choi, who ran on an anti-corruption platform. He is getting like photographed and getting ready. The other mayor got arrested as he was trying to flee to Montreal. I guess, I assume a safe full of weird money is not a great thing. So he gets arrested as he's trying to flee to Montreal. The new mayor is getting his pictures taken. He's getting like set in, this new Mayor Choi. And as he's doing this, one of his I guess maybe his attorney general has these hard drives and says, all right, Mayor, so if we prosecute these two people, these hard drives will have to be entered into evidence. And these hard drives contain 20 years of untraceable transactions, $100 million of untraceable money that will have to go back into the state once it's been revealed in trial. If we don't prosecute these people, then this doesn't have to get entered into evidence. And you see Mayor Choi, the anti-corruption mayor, kind of smile, and then take a picture. Next thing you know, you see Rory and Cobby getting let out. They get taken to the place where this all started, where they all met the boss at the very start. and let go. And the police, let them go, and they say, congratulations, it's your lucky day. You're released under Mayor Choi's second chance program. So it seems like this anti-corruption mayor corrupt pretty quickly once he got into office. But our friends are free. Rory and Cobby are free. And Cobby asked, like, hey, what about our boots? We had boots. They had like firefighter boots that they had taken. And the cops were like, oh, we returned that to the fire department. And Cobby's like, well, what about some personal effects that were in there? And the cop's like, oh, the cash? Oh, we took that. Thank you. So it seems like they were going to try to sneak some of the cash out in their boots. It didn't quite work. And so they're left with nothing, but I guess they have their freedom at least. So Rory and Cobby go their separate ways. And so Rory and Cobby go their separate ways. I don't know if they'll be friends. They seem to have like a nice relationship. I don't know if they'll be friends after this, but they seem to go in separate ways. Now, Cobby goes to Dr. Rivera's. He was hitting on her the entire time. He was asking her for like coffee or a date or things like that. And so now, he's sitting outside of her stupid apartment. How does he know where she lives? Well, they took him there to get the bullet out. So he must have remembered. He's sitting out there. Dr. Rivera comes out. She sits down next to him and says, you're loitering. And Cobby looks at her and smiles and says, well, you know how to call the cops. So it seems like maybe they'll have a little relationship. And Rory drives to a hockey game, his son's hockey game. He sits in the stands. He's just watching. His son like skates by, kind of looks at him, does almost like a double take, sees him, and then gives him like a head nod. And Rory gives him a head nod too. And so his son then continues skating. Seems like Rory's able to see his son. Seems like Rory got his freedom. He got the payments done, and now he's able to see his son. So right after the credits start, we see another scene. We see a Montreal police officer like get off of his horse, find two frozen bodies. And who are these? Well, it is Richie and the boss. It seems like they fled to Canada and they froze to death up in Canada. And the officer looks at them and says, needed boots. Because one of the recurring jokes is Cobby keeps saying he wants to flee to Montreal. And Rory's like, what do you mean? Like, it's like -50 up there. We'd freeze to death. We don't even have the right boots. What, are you going to flee in sneakers? Like, we don't have the right clothes. Well, it seems like the boss and Richie didn't take that advice or didn't know that advice, and they tried to flee to Montreal, and they ended up freezing. So all's well that ends well, I guess. Rory got to see his kid. Cobby turned his life around and is now maybe dating someone. So that is The Instigators. Like I said, I enjoyed it a lot. It's a fun buddy heist story. It's not like a fantastic movie, but it's a very enjoyable movie. If you see it in theaters, it comes to theaters on August 2nd, 2024. If you see it on Apple TV Plus, it comes on August 9th, 2024. But check it out one way or the other. And if you do, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I would love to hear it. And thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.